When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence. Whether you use handicapping insights, like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power, and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.
Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali. We're going to talk our best bets and fades of the week at a whole lot of tracks. We've got Fairgrounds, Aqueduct, Gulfstream Park, Turfway Park, and we're going to also give our picks for the Grade 3 Lecomte and the Silverbulletday Stakes, their Kentucky Derby and Oaks prep races. But before we jump in, we have some breaking news from Marcus Hirsch at DRF. And James, I will toss it to you to let us know about some scratches happening at Fairgrounds this weekend.
Yeah, the weather forecast was absolutely terrible earlier in the week. It looked like it could be a complete rain out. It has improved, but they're definitely going to get some rain Friday night and into Saturday down in New Orleans. And as Marcus Hirsch reported, I'll focus first on the big 3-year-old races and the Silverbulletday Road to the Kentucky Oaks Series qualifier. California Sunset, a maiden winner, 2 back at Churchill for Brad Cox, who exits at 3rd in the Untappable. She's going to withdraw from the Silverbulletday. And Kenny McPeak has announced that he's going to scratch either last out maiden winners, Gal's Delight, or Golden Gamble, who ran 2nd in the Untappable. So those scratches are going to have an impact on the Silverbulletday wagering. As far as the 14-horse Lecomte field goes, one horse has been confirmed to withdraw. That's number 3, Admiral Dennis. Brad Cox is going to scratch him from the Lecomte and run him on Monday, according to Marcus Hirsch. And Tom Amos is considering pulling Seattle Road, who drew post 14. He's not sure if he's going to run him in that spot also. So those are the big developments surrounding a 3-year-old stakes. Nobles is going to scratch from the Duncan Kenner. We got some news on horses like Gigante. He's going to run on dirt or turf. And, some a filly like Nanda Day, she's only going to run on turf if the Marie Krantz Memorial stays on. But a lot of news from Marcus Hirsch surrounding possible horse movements in this stakes races at Fairgrounds on Saturday.
And that news broke about 15 minutes ago, so it definitely had us scrambling a little bit to change some of our wagers for the Lecomte and Silverbulletday Stakes, which we'll talk about later in the show. But let's get to our best bet of the week, and I'll start with Darin today. What is your best bet, and where are you playing that this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to head to Gulfstream Park, who has a really nice card on Saturday. Hopefully the weather steers clear of there, because the 8th race is a second-level allowance that's on the turf going about a 1-mile distance for the fillies and mares. And I thought that number 11 in here, Vive Vouve, is very interesting. This filly has a history of running in a series of graded stakes races and doing so quite well. Was 3rd in the Grade 2 Wonder Again, was 3rd in the Grade 3 Lake George, 3rd in the Grade 2 Music City, and was 2nd in a recent listed stake at Gulfstream. Now, last time out in the Tropical Park Oaks, she did not run a step that day, where she did not get off to a good beginning and was seemingly never involved. But it's interesting to note now that coming back to Allowance Company, she can race with the benefit of Lasix again. And I wonder if possibly she bled in that start, because it was one of those races based on her previous form that was simply too bad to be true. Tyler Gaffleone is not dissuade. He comes back aboard for Jack Sisterson. And again, the drop in class here from those series of stakes tries. There are several runners in here that have run in stakes events and have been somewhat competitive. But for me, Vive Vouve, if you go back to those races, Grade 2, Grade 3 at marquee tracks, including Saratoga, I think those races are good enough to win this year. So we're going to make her our best bet. And we have the morning line now. She's actually 8-1, which I think is an outstanding price on this filly.
I even think the cut back to a mile will benefit her, given that her 2 career wins have come at 7.5 and 7.5 furlongs and a mile distance. So lots of good points there. Should get some value off of that last effort.
James, what is your best bet?
My best bet is going to come in the Marie Krantz Memorial at Fairgrounds, race 8. It's number 13, Nanda Day. And Nanda Dea. And Nanda Dea, she was Nacho Correas has had a lot of success. He's had a lot of horses come up from South America that were accomplished stakes performers down there. Most notably, multiple Group 1 Argentinian winner Blue Prize captured the 2019 Breeders' Cup Distaff for Nacho Correas. And Nanda Day is a multiple Group 1 winner in Argentina as well. She came back from a 10-month layoff at Keeneland last time out at mid on a Thursday afternoon card on October 17th. And let me just say, Jose Ortiz, you'll see him on the far outside there. He's just pushing her for the first time on the 7. He was he was sat so chilly, like he had a ton of horse the whole way. He waited until she straightened into the stretch to push the button, and she instantly responds and wins this stakes quality non-winner of 3 other than allowance going away by 2.5 lengths. No surprise, Jose Ortiz, who was up last time on Stir Crazy, who won the December 21st Blushing KD Stakes on the Fairgrounds turf. Jose Ortiz is going to opt for Nanda Dea. And I look for her to keep progressing off that race and run a real big one. The other thing that's in her advantage, and this pick is for turf only, that Keeneland allowance came on less than firm ground. So she can handle turf with give to it. She's going to get that on Saturday. And I really like her chances to record her first U.S. stakes win in the Marie Krantz Memorial.
Yeah, I put her into my stable mail off of that win, as a lot of people did. We were anxious to see where she was going to return because she certainly appeared to be destined for stakes action coming out of that. I like her quite a bit as well. The filly in here that I'm interested in, not necessarily for the race, although a little bit, but long-term, is Austere, who I've always been really high on since she was a 2-year-old. And things kind of went a little bit sideways on her in the spring last year as a 3-year-old. And then she came back in November over this course with a big effort, drawing away by 2.25 lengths. And she's only 4 years old. She only has 6 lifetime starts. I think there's a lot of talent there still. And if she starts to figure things out and puts them together, I think she's a filly that could have a very nice 4-year-old season.
No disagreement there. I will take it over, though, to another turf race that I think may still stay on the turf at Fairgrounds, and that is race 10. This is the Colonel E.R. Bradley Stakes, and I'm going with number 11 Wadsworth at 5-1 as my best bet. This is a Brad Cox runner, a 5-year-old gelding, eligible to improve. Third start off the layoff. He was beaten as the favorite last out, racing on all weather at Turfway at today's distance, and posted a 93 Brisnet speed figure, which is tied for the highest last race speed rating among the field. 2 back, he was beaten ahead in a 1-mile allowance optional claimer at Churchill on the turf, and has faced a little bit tougher company than some of the horses in this field. There are a lot that I considered it's a pretty competitive race, but I thought, looking at the class level that Wadsworth has faced in the past, this horse has also finished no worse than second from 5 tries on the turf and has the highest Brisnet prime power rating by almost 10 points among this field. So I like the price that I'm getting. I don't know if I'll get it at post time, but even if this comes off the turf and Wadsworth does run, the fact that he's done well on all weather before too, I think he might take to the main track and have a good performance. So I'll stick with number 11 Wadsworth and the Colonel E.R. Bradley.
Hey, it's easy to underappreciate that 4th place effort last time, but let me just say that Prairie Bayou was the equivalent of like a grade 3 stake. That Peros, he set a new track record. He ran a huge race to edge Dresden Rowe, who's going to make a major impact in graded stakes next year in Canada. I thought the top 2 are really good. And, Wadsworth, like you said, I don't know if you mentioned it, but I didn't think he had the best trip on the inside there. And I thought he still performed very respectably to be 4th. His prior turf form is strong. So I like lots to like with him.
Well, there is a Brad Cox runner I know you don't like so much at Fairgrounds, James. So tell me about your fate of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to fade Hit Show in the Louisiana Stakes. And really, it's two reasons why. First off, Hit Show to me has become this long distance. I mean, he's been running mostly at 9 furlongs, but I think these like 10 furlong and longer distances would be in his wheelhouse also. He's a real grinding type. 4 of his last 5 wins have come at 9 furlongs. We can see of his in this this is his 3rd place effort last time, where he got outfinished by Rock and Roll, and most wanted, but still ran pretty well for third. Like I said, he's just never going to wow anybody with this turn of foot. He's a grinding type. He needed the entire length of the stretch to get up in the 9 furlong Lucas Classic. 3 starts back. And this race is a prep off of a layoff for these big races overseas, like the Saudi Cup and the Dubai World Cup. I don't expect Brad Cox to have him completely cranked for a mile and a 16th distance that might be too short for him. And the other reason I'm going to make him my big fade is because I'm really keen on Skinner. I liked how Skinner, after missing most of last year, got back in the win column last time out. He's now with Cherie DeVoe. He's working bullets down there, and I think he's going to beat Hit Show. So I'm going to fade Hit Show in the Louisiana as the probable favorite.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Skinner's actually a single for me in pretty much every possible sequence because not only that, I mean, I think he's a quality individual. Cherie DeVoe was actually considering running him in the Pegasus World Cup, so you know he has to be doing well. But this race just sets up perfectly for him. I mean, all these other horses that are major players, they either want to be on the lead or they want to be forward. He's going to be able to take back and make one late run. He's coming into this in excellent form off of winning the Native Diver. I think Skinner is one of the strongest plays of the day.
Excellent late pace rating. So certainly with a hot pace is going to have a lot of pace to run into. Well, Darin, what is your fade of the week?
Yeah, I don't have any of these really attractive stakes races as any of my picks, but sometimes you just got to go where you like them or go where you don't like them. And for me, race number 5, Saturday at Turfway Park, which is an auction maiden event for 3-year-old fillies. I don't like Belle of the South at all here, who's the 5-2 morning line choice. Belle of the South is 0 for 5 in her career. She's run on dirt. She's run on turf. She's run at distances between 4.5 and 5.5 furlongs. And with the exception of her debut at 4.5, she has lost ground to the winner in the stretch of each and every start since then, including the last 3 where she showed speed and made the lead. She was passed in the stretch by 1 or 2 horses in each of those. And now she is stretching out to 6 furlongs. If she's not able to withstand the pressure and hold on at 5, 5.5, I'm not sure why I'm supposed to like her at 6. And I understand that she's coming out of maiden special weights, and on the surface, that particular class is going to be tougher than a maiden auction. But the maiden special weights at Colonial and Delaware. Nothing to say anything bad about those tracks, but it's not a maiden special weight at Churchill or Saratoga. And there's runners coming into this that are coming out of maiden special weights at Churchill, and there's some intriguing first-time starters as well. So for me, at a short price, Belle of the South is a definite fade in race 5 at Turfway Saturday.
She lost her last start at 2 to 5. So, I mean, yeah, that's the kind of types I like to play against, those types that I just don't – I agree with everything you said. I want to see a good effort first before I back her, especially at short odds.
And a trainer's a little cold at Turfway as well. I definitely would prefer to go with either a first-time starter or a more lightly raced filly in this field that has more upside potentially here. So I'm with you, Darin. I will take it over to the Silverbulletday Stakes, which I know we're going to talk about later, but my fade is coming in this race at number 3, Simply Joking at 3-1. And this is a practical joke filly who impressed on debut when she got up to win by a neck in the 6 furlong Letlier Memorial Stakes and clocked a 91 Brisnet speed figure. Her trainer's doing very well at Fairgrounds with Beckman winning at about a 36% rate right now. This filly's put in some good workouts ahead of this race, but I don't like her stretching out for the first time here up against some more experienced runners. And I would rather see her win at her route first before I back her as the morning line favorite in this race. I know she looks like she could handle the distance. Certainly it's a mile and 70 yards, but I have a few other horses that stood out to me that I prefer to play that I'll talk about later. So I will fade Simply Joking at a shorter price, going from a sprint to a route. I know you don't agree with me, Darin, so
I'll save it for later on, though.
It's all good. Well, before we talk about our promos at TwinSpires this week, and I did want to mention our Kentucky Derby Week tickets are going on sale on January 30th at KentuckyDerby.com. It's never too soon to buy those tickets for the first Saturday in May or any of the race days leading up to the Kentucky Derby. And we also have Pool 3 of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager this weekend. It will open on Friday at noon and closes at 6 p.m. on Sunday. Some horses in the Lecomte are in that Future Wager, so definitely watch that race. And good time to jump on some longer odds for some of these horses that will certainly have shorter odds by the time we get to the first Saturday in May. And with that said, I will now turn it over to Darin to talk about our promos and tournaments.
Yeah, obviously we have a lot of great stuff going on, and with the Lecomte coming up, we have a special 15% profit boost on the card at the fairgrounds. A great offer, great opportunity to take advantage of that blockbuster program. You can get a 15% boost on your win exacta, trifecta, and superfecta wagers up to a $25 cap for the day, so you can make those winning tickets even better. So be sure to go to TwinSpires and opt into that. We also have a hit it and split it for $2,500 as one of these offers as well. The hit it and split it, I believe we're going to show the Gulfstream Park one for their late pick 5. That takes place on Sundays at Gulfstream Park. So another great opportunity for our players to get involved in one of the best wagers in racing and take advantage of a potential enhancement. And I'll also mention, of course, the Turfway money back. We had to kind of pivot around things last week. We had a lot of track cancellations. So with Turfway canceled, we added in a winter money back. But now that we got Turfway back, the Turfway money back is back as well. So be sure to go to twinspires.com and see what races we've picked in. And also, you know, we love points. And this is a really great offer. I think that players love this. So 10 times wager rewards points, but we're not forcing you to play any track. Whatever track you bet the most on that particular day, you're getting 10 times points. It could be an international track. It could be the fairgrounds. It could be the Meadowlands and Yonkers and harness racing. Does not matter. You're getting 10 times points on wherever you bet the most money. Great opportunity for the players to decide where they want to get their rewards, Ashley.
And I will keep it with you, Darin, to talk about what we're watching for this weekend. So tell me what has caught your eye.
Yeah, amidst all the stakes, I'm a sucker for like a good maiden race with some promising horses. I love trying to find talent before they kind of, jump into the spotlight. And with that being said, there's a maiden special weight race number 7 at the fairgrounds with a couple of horses that I thought were really interesting in here. Doroteo and Cromwell. Not to say that this race is necessarily just between the two of them, because it is a contentious field. But I thought Doroteo ran very well going on debut in the Sugar Bowl. So debuted in a stakes race, was sent off at 9-1 that day, and certainly ran respectively with Axel Concepcion. Horse cost $250,000 as a 2-year-old in training. Is by Bolt Doro, who's a very precocious sire, is akin to a winner. The Dam was a winner on the racetrack as well. I love, you can't get a more classic pedigree when you see names like Medallia Doro up top and Lemon Drop Kid, who we recently lost down on the bottom. So Doroteo is one that I definitely will be watching closely on Saturday and moving forward in the future. And Cromwell, the $500,000 son of Quality Road, who's out of an astrology mare. This one really stepped up when stretching out around 2 turns last time out to just get beat ahead, coming wide down the stretch. The Dam was not much on the racetrack, but has produced a winner as well. And again, this one has the pedigree that will likely continue to improve as the races get longer and with racing experience for Sherry DeVoe. So I thought this was a maiden race that you could see the winner and possibly more than the winner come out of it and do some damage as a 3-year-old.
And there's certainly go ahead, Ashley.
I was just going to mention Cromwell was beaten ahead by Seattle Road, who we just talked about earlier, potentially will scratch from Lecomte, but a good horse that was going to show up in a graded stakes maybe this weekend.
Mm-hmm. I saw where number 1 Yinzer, before he debuted at Churchill Downs, Asmus had told somebody that he might need some racing experience. And I know there's such a rush to judgment on these horses to label them, a success or not a success. But his first 2 races aren't terrible. And it's now or never kind of feel for him. So I am a little intrigued by Yinzer there with the Tory from the rail. I think he could continue to improve. He's adding blinkers. These maiden races, all the top 3-year-olds based at fairgrounds, and sometimes you'll get a good 3-year-old maiden horse shipping in with a stakes horse for the Lecomte or Rizza Star or even Louisiana Derby. But those big day maiden races, all the top 3-year-olds on the grounds point to them. I did a quick look this morning on the Lecomte Day undercard the last 3 years. Those maiden races have produced at least 7 stakes winners. Horses like Cagliostro, Comparative, even last year, Gallia Princess broke her maiden first time out for Cox. She came back, ran second in the Ruthless, then won the Cicada Stakes by 6 and was unfortunately retired, but she had a lot of promise. And it's certainly possible that these horses in both race 7 and maybe another maiden race can make an impact in the future.
Ashley, when you interviewed Steve Asmussen, did he give you any kind of direction on Yinzer? Should we be betting? Or?
You seemed really excited about Yinzer, and of course, this was a horse that was purchased for $1 million. So Connections obviously saw a lot in this horse. He was eager to get him on the track, and I talked to him before Yinzer's debut. So I'm expecting to see something big eventually. We just haven't seen it yet. James, I know you're fired up about Pool 3, so tell us about it.
Well, let me just say, Pool 3, we already highlighted. Pool 3 of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager. It opens tomorrow at noon, closes Sunday at 6 p.m. Opportunity to lock in a price, 39 individual interests. Option number 40 is going to be all other 3-year-olds. Todd Pletcher leads all trainers with the most Kentucky Derby starts. He's got he's a multiple Kentucky Derby winner. He's got his barn is geared towards the Derby. And I look at this list and I don't see any Pletcher runners. I see one Pletcher runner from a maiden race last week. I don't think that's the best 3 on his barn. I think Vassimo is. I can't wait for that horse. He's back training at Nyquist. I didn't understand why he wasn't in it. There's several others out there, I thought, because one thing about it was it seems like they called Baffert and they asked him, if you have any 3-year-olds in training, give them their names and we'll throw them on the list. You got a horse by Lecomte out of Include Mare that's never raced that's on the list. You got a horse, Stan Saba, who was exposed of non-threatening third first out. So I didn't understand not including some of these, nice maiden winners, especially for high-profile barns like Pletcher and Chad Brown and others in the pool. But I am going to make some wagers on Pool 3. I always like to get down early in these pools. And I am going to mention a Baffert horse, and it's number 32, Rodriguez. At best, I expect him to be the third shortest price among the Baffert runners. Obviously, Barnes is going to compete for favoritism, and Citizen Bull is going to take a lot of money off his Breeders' Cup Juvenile win. But Rodriguez ran second to Romanesque at first asking. That horse couldn't have been any more sharper. He's the son of Practical Joke, who probably won't be going a mile and a quarter this spring. But Romanesque came back in his second start, stretched a 2-turn mile. I mean, he was so much more professional on January 4th, breaking his maiden. He easily, comfortably made the lead under pressure, hot pace, began edging away on the far turn, and I thought he drew off spectacularly in the stretch. The thing about Rodriguez, too, he's the son of Authentic. And Baffert has been talking since Del Mar about how these Authentics are going to improve with experience. Authentic himself didn't win the Derby until it was the one Derby in the fall in 2020 when he won it, and that probably helped him the extra time. And if Rodriguez keeps improving off of that maiden win on January 4th, he's going to make a major impact in 3-year-old stakes races. I'll mention one other thing about him. I love the speed and stamina in his pedigree because he's out of a Cherokee run dam that has thrown a one-liner who won the Southwest and ran second in the Pimlico Special. And then his second, third, and fourth maternal dams are Belmont winner Touch Gold, Travers winner 49er, and Kentucky Derby winner Sonny's Halo. I love that pedigree. I loved what I saw from the horse. I'll also take a look at East Avenue, see what the odds are on him. He's listed at 15-1. He's coming back in the Risen Star next month for Brendan Walsh, and I won't be surprised at all to see him run huge. So it might be an opportunity to lock in a decent price. And I'll mention one other, Patch Adams. Super impressive Churchill maiden winner. My friend, our colleague, Vance Ansom's a little bit keen on him. He's a horse I'll be checking his odds on Sunday to see if he's offering good value.
Yeah, to add to James's point, I was surprised I wouldn't want the job of having to figure out which 39 horses to put in here because it's a challenge. And, certainly getting some high profile names and getting a lot of Bob Baffert horses, you want to get people to say, oh, I'm going to bet the 6th best Baffert horse and, get a big number on him. And if he gets to the Derby, he's going to get a lot more money. I mean, I understand, but like a horse like Burnham Square, I was shocked is not listed in this field. Burnham Square recently won a maiden race in December as a 2-year-old at Gulfstream by 9 points. He earned an 85 or an 86 buyer figure. He earned the 10 on the Ragazins. And when a horse like American Promise, who took 6 tries to break his maiden and just kind of went around in a merry-go-round win, in his maiden win, gets put into this field, and a horse like Burnham Square doesn't, who I was actually looking forward to maybe even betting a few dollars on, and now I can't. I was really surprised by that. Now, admittedly, I'm a little bit biased because I do co-own Burnham Square's sister. So, there is a little bit of added incentive for Burnham Square to be good. But that being said, yeah, I was a little bit taken aback by some of the horses that were selected for this pool, because I thought there were a couple James mentioned and a couple that I thought as well that got left out here of the mix that I thought should have been on the roster.
I'm curious how low the odds are going to be on Barnes by the end of this week. And he's already 10-1, the favorite for individual betting choice. But
My
Yeah.
answer to that would be too low, Ashley.
yeah, too low for sure.
You just can't. You're 4 months away from the Derby. To take anything like around 9-1 on anybody, 4 months before a race, it would be just kind of lunacy. I mean, his name is escaping me right now, but the horse that Bob Baffert had that was put into this a couple of years ago as a maiden, who had not run.
Oh, Life is the
Life
horse.
is Good, the other one.
Yeah.
I'm blanking out on the name. I'm blanking on the name, but he was like all the buzz with the morning workouts, and the horse was literally like 6-1 before in the Derby pool before he ever ran a race, and he got beaten in his first start, and that was kind of the end of that. And he ended up with like Linda Rice at Aqueduct years later, believe it or not. But yeah, to the point, you have to understand value. You have to take into the fact that they're not going to run for 3.5 months. So it's not like you're guaranteed to be in the starting gate either. All of these horses are probably 10-1 to make the race, let alone win it at this point.
Yeah, and if you look at and Baffert had Nisos, he had that other horse. I think it was Life is Good, and he's even had he's had some other really Arabian Night. Those horses just couldn't even make the Triple Crown races because of health or whatever issues. So it's no guarantee with a super promising youngster like Barnes that he's going to make it either. So it's just way too short a price to take this far out.
Our producer's throwing out the name Uncle Chuck.
That's not the horse.
That's not it.
That's not the horse.
I will mention some 3-year-olds racing this weekend. I don't believe any are in the individual pool yet, but they are going to be in the Leonatus Stakes at Turfway Park, which is the road to the Jeff Ruby Stakes, as Kevin Kirstein put it in his press release. Now, the Leonatus is at a mile on all weather, headlined by number 4 Banks at 2-1 for trainer Joe Sharp. He is 2 for 2 in Joe Sharp's barn and has won at the 1 mile distance already. Should be pretty tough to beat here. It's an 8-horse field. We've got 2 others that are intriguing that I think could potentially contend for a win here, especially number 6 Can't Deny It for Larry Ravelli, who's just been incredible at Turfway. He's a 42% winner this meet, and so is Gerardo Corrales, who has the mount. These horses will potentially, some of them may show up at the John Battaglia, which is on the road to the Kentucky Derby, and of course the Jeff Ruby Stakes is a 100-point prep race later in March. So if you want to get a preview of some of these horses that may show up, I don't know if they'll be in pool 4, but the winner of this race may be in the John Battaglia and may eventually make it to the Kentucky Derby. So a different race to watch this weekend for some potential 3-year-olds on the Derby Trail.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this Can't Deny It, see how he runs off that turf win. And let me just say, Banks, his allowance win last out was on a pick 5 carryover night. So I was well attuned to that effort, and he looked pretty good to me.
Let's talk about the Grade 3 Lecomte now. We're going to give out our picks for that race. 20 points goes to the winner for the Kentucky Derby leaderboard. James, you were going to go with Admiral Dennis, but you've got to switch it up now. So who are you picking in the race?
I'm taking Calling Card. Let me make sure I got the right number 7 Calling Card. He's 12-1 on the morning line, picking up Frankie Dettori. I liked his maiden win 2 starts back. I know it came against New York bred maiden special weight rivals at a mile in mid-November. But I mean, you'd see a horse break his maiden like he did by 17 lengths. I thought it was, definitely it's a performance where he had the potential to be good off of it. And he went to Oaklawn last time. I thought it was an okay third behind Sandman. I thought Sandman really turned a corner in that allowance race last time. I think Calling Card is going to get a much better pace scenario, much better setup, and he'll benefit from that experience last time against Sandman. I give him a chance from off the pace because I see a lot of speed in this Lecomte.
I like that. I actually have that horse in my exacta play, but I'm going a different route for who I'm playing on top. Darin, who is your top pick?
Yeah, I'm going to try Maximum Promise for Kenny McPeak, who won the Kentucky Derby last year, of course, with Mystic Dan. Maximum Promise debuted on the turf and ran respectably, splitting a field of 12, ran fifth that day, and then came out of that race to break his maiden in just about as brilliant a form as you possibly could, winning, but going away by 14 lengths. And not only that, but the horse that was second that day came back to win a maiden event. And it was 4.5 lengths from second back to the third place finisher, and then 12.5 lengths back from third to fourth. Like, so this is not just, beating one horse and the rest of the, like, this is annihilating a horse who beat another horse by 5. And then it's a chasm back to the rest of the field. I mean, you can't win much more impressive than this. He went to the sideline for a couple of months, came back to the work tab in November, and Kenny McPeak puts him right on the Kentucky Derby trail, which I think is a real testament to what he thinks that this horse is capable of. I'm just trying to get a little bit outside the box here. There's certainly a lot of logical horses built, Disco Time, horses that have run more recently. I totally get that. But I'll try to jump on a talented horse's bandwagon before potentially everybody else does.
Well, I am going with number 11, Disco Time, who's unbeaten from 2 starts for trainer Brad Cox. Won last out at a 1-turn, 1 mile allowance optional claimer at Churchill, won by 3.5 lengths. This horse hasn't won by 14 lengths like your other horses that you talked about, but it looks like a very good Brad Cox runner. He outworked Admiral Dennis on January 12th at Fairgrounds. Florent Giroux is aboard. He's a 30% winner this meet. Brad Cox is a 30% winner at Fairgrounds as well. And Disco Time's coming off about a 49-day layoff. Brad Cox does very well. I mean, most of his percentages are high with a lot of stat categories, but he's a 24% winner with horses coming off layoffs of 46 to 90 days. This will be Disco Time's first time at Fairgrounds, and Brad Cox is a 28% winner with shippers. So I'm going to go with the Brad Cox runner in this race. I am a little concerned about the outside post, but this horse can either go for the early lead or sit right off the pace, and I'm going to back him at 9-2. Now let's move over to Silverbulletday Stakes for the fillies. 20 points goes to the winner. And Darin, who do you have in that race?
Yeah, I like your fade. I like the filly that's going to probably be favored, and Simply Joking. This just comes down to straight up speed figures. If she runs back to the figures that she ran in the debut, especially on the Ragozin sheets, where she ran a figure that would make her a player in the Lecomte Stakes, where she ran an 11 that day, all these other fillies have to catch up to it. Now, that's not saying that she's going to duplicate that effort. That's not saying she's going to improve off of it. She certainly could regress, and somebody else could jump forward. But coming into this race, she has 1 lifetime start. And from a speed figure standpoint, it's much faster than any of these other fillies have run. It just comes down to that. She's by practical joke. She's probably going to be at her best up to a mile, maybe 7 furlongs. I totally understand the stretch out as a wild card here, but I'm a speed figure guy, and the speed figures say that she has the potential to be a real serious racehorse.
James, you and I believe, have the same pick, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I'm going to go with number 2, Golden Gamble. I am a little bit concerned about the pace scenario because I thought she was compromised in the Untappable by a little bit being off the pace that day behind a really slow fractions. And obviously we're going to lose at least 1, maybe 2 runners. So, but I do think Golden Gamble can continue to progress upon that first stakes experience, perhaps be a little bit more professional this second time around. I really was a fan of her maiden win 2 starts back. I thought it was a very professional performance, and she looked like a filly with graded stakes, written all over her at the time. So, this effort was a little disappointing. She was favored there and, just came running up to be non-threatening second. But I'll look for an improve upon that experience, like I said, in the second stakes attempt, and go right back with Golden Gamble. Kenny McPeak, Brian Hernandez.
I agree. A little concerned about the pace scenario here. Not a lot of speed signed on, but did really like the way she looked at a mile and a 16th, breaking her maiden. Was beaten as the favorite in the Untappable Stakes. And Kenny McPeak, he's a high percentage trainer, 20% winner with beaten favorites. Of course, you got that pairing with Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez had a great campaign with Torpedo Anna. So I'm going to go with Golden Gamble. I would throw out as well a long shot. I do kind of like Bless the Broken, who's cross-entered in the Busanda Stakes, but I believe it's going to show up in this race at Fairgrounds. And this is a horse that could go for the early lead since there is a lack of speed. A Will Walden horse who has Axel Concepcion aboard, has a bullet work at Fairgrounds on January 9th. So I probably will play Bless the Broken in Exacta because you're getting 10-1 on that horse as well.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a Brad Cox filly in there, and I mean,
we didn't mention it.
We didn't even mention her. I know we mentioned the one that's going to scratch, but he plays such a big role in these 3-year-old stakes. So it'll be interesting. That Chasson is the one we didn't mention. She comes off a maiden win, and she's in with a chance. But it looks like, even though it's a short field, it looks like it's going to be a competitive race.
All right, well, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires jury. I want to say thank you to our friends at KentuckyDerby.com and all of our viewers who have joined, maybe from the retweet at Kentucky Derby that has expanded our viewership today. Again, we have tickets on sale on January 30th for Kentucky Derby week. We have pool 3 at the Kentucky Derby Future Wager, and at TwinSpires, we have a whole lot of promos and tournaments. So head to TwinSpires.com or the app, watch and wager with us, and we will see you next Thursday. We are live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Good luck betting this weekend.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.